Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I hope you're having a good Monday. Excuse me. I'm popping by. I thought we'd have some creative time together again, as we do every now and then. And this time I'm going to use my gel press. My gel press is the 5x7 one. So I'm just using that one. As you can see, it's not very clean. It's very well used, and it's not been cleaned at all. So I thought we'd have a go at creating a seasonal card. So let's grab the SS7, the Bauble 2 stencil is back in stock. It's due on Wednesday. So it's actually back in stock on the website, but it's back in on Wednesday, so the deliveries will go out on the Wednesday. So that's back in. I'm going to use SS6 Snippet Stencil Bauble. She says, I've got that many bits of paper. There it is. There we go. What I love about these snippet stencils is, even though they're 4x4, they're a really good size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the Bauble stencil onto the gel press. And as you can see, you don't need anything to hold that down because the suction of the gel press just holds that in place nicely. I've got a piece of cut and dry foam. You can use your blending brushes, whatever you want. I'm going to use acrylic paint by Dina Wakley called Sapphire. You can use any dark blue paint that you wish. I've also got some gold paint, which I'm hoping is still okay. I've had it in my collection for ages. It's a Liquitex Basic Acrylic Gold paint. I'm going to be using a piece of Pink Frog Super Smooth card, 300 GSM, 4 inches by 6 inches, smooth white card. I've got a couple of pieces just in case. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the paint like so, and our creative time together, oh, this one keeps moving. Our creative time together is just that. We spend some time together just creating, sort of minding our own business and just enjoying the process of creating. No other reason. And just to catch up, just to see how you've been, how the weekend's been. I spent some time clearing a border with my husband, who helped me to cut it back because it's quite a big border. So he helped me to cut that back. It's very strange because we cut it back and we've got a couple of things in there that stay, that are sort of evergreen, but a lot of it is cut back. And I love cutting back, and then in the spring you see all the new shoots come to life. But I always do the same process every time. I always cut everything back, put a good layer of mulch bark on the garden, and then it all looks tidy before it all springs to life again in spring. And I'm also converting I've got 3 ponds. 2 are only tiny. One's a natural pond, one's a pond for fish, and then I've got another pond, but I'm actually going to make that back into a border. So a few exciting plans for the garden, but I love it. I always seem to do jobs in the garden where I'm changing things at this time of the year. I think it's because I know that if I'm going to make a mess, it's not going to wreck any of the plants. Anyway, that's what I did this weekend. So I hope you had a good weekend. So I'm going to lift the stencil like so. And then I'm going to take the stencil again and then just place this on the gel press. That'll hold it in place for me. And add part of the Bauble here on this side. And I'm not bothered that I've got a bit of cream paint. I think we need a little bit more paint on here. I'm scrimping a little bit. So it's a nice rich blue, and I think that will go quite nicely with the gold. I think it'll look lovely, and it'll also give me a different look with having that gold. Normally I lift with white or cream paint, so it'd be nice just to have something a little bit different. So we can lift that up. And if you prefer, you can let these completely dry and continue with the process. But what I love about our creative time together is that we don't have to rush. We can just take our time. So I'm going to just add one down here, like so. And you can see what I like most is not rushing. If there's one thing I don't like when I'm being creative, is actually rushing the process. I don't like doing that. So you can see, can you see here? Let's just wipe that off here. So let's take, she says, I can never open the pack. If I go live on a video, you can guarantee I cannot get the wipes off. So I'm just going to remove that bit of paint on there. Now, you can see it's removed a bit of paint here. That's fine. Just go in and just add a bit of the colour back in. However, you've got to be careful because it sort of takes the paint away once it's dry. So I've just added that back in. But what I like is you're going to have some open areas, which is quite nice. So what you could do is you could do this big one first and then do the other ones afterwards. And then you don't have to do what I've just done. So I'm going to add this bit of a bauble here and hold it up slightly. Just then I can keep the edge of that just away from the edge of this one here. But to be honest, it doesn't really bother me that much if some is lifted away because it just adds to sort of the worn look. There we go. That's it. So we've got the bauble on there, and then if you want a little bit of the bauble here, you can just do the top of the bauble. So what we're doing is we're just creating our background. So we're just creating a little background. There we go. I've got paint on there. I'll have a go at rubbing that off later. So let's clean this up. This is a little bit wet, but this is what playing's all about, really. So we can get the shape of the bauble by just cleaning off the stencil, because I may need one that I cut out. As you can see, I've now got the shape of the bauble I can cut out should I want to cut that out. So let's just clean. Again, you could add this to another piece of card should you wish. Just giving that a little bit of a clean. Where's the other piece? I do like to clean my stencils because what I don't want to happen is I don't want thick clumps of paint on my stencil so that when I come to use it again, I've got any thick lumps of anything so that there's more ridges on there. So I just like to give that a little bit of a clean. Let's just grab some kitchen roll. And whilst we're doing that, our paint on the gel press is drying. So you're just giving the gel press plenty of time to dry. And this paint is lovely and rich. So it does take a bit of time to dry. But if you sort of hold your gel press up like so, you can see that's pretty much dry. And if you're unsure, just dab very lightly with your fingers and you can see if that's dry. So whilst we just give it a couple of seconds longer, we'll just cut out this bauble. And I'm cutting right to the edge. Obviously we're going to do a bit more work on that bauble. Because this is creative time and this isn't something that I prep. We just go with the flow and we enjoy our time together. Sometimes I might prep. That's what creative time's all about. Wherever inspiration takes you or wherever the mood takes you. There we go. So you can press things on this if you wish, or you can just keep it as it is so that you've got those lovely sort of baubles on there. And if we don't know what we're going to get, well, that's the whole point of playing. Let's just see what we get. Yeah, I think we're dry. Got a nice clean brayer, not. So I'm going to work on my non-stick craft sheet. Now, often you see people just put a layer of paint straight on there. What I like to do, because I get a feel for how much paint I might need. I'm going to have a scrap piece of card. I think I need another one as well. Bear with me. I'm going to have a scrap piece of card just on one side in case I've got too much paint. And what I like to do is I like to prime my brayer so that it's got the paint on there, and then I can just sort of get a feel for how much paint I need to get on there, and we'll just slide it straight through the paint. That's because my non-stick craft sheet moves, which is a bit of a pain. I want to get that bit down there. Now let's see if we can lift that print. Decide where you want to add your card. And you do get a feel for how much you want to add, as in how much paint you want to add. And if you just touch your gel press, you can feel there is a resistance. Now, a lot of people use a piece of copier paper over the top. I don't. Now, there's hardly any gold paint on there, but there is some gold paint. This looks quite translucent, this paint does. That's fine. Let's take a little bit more of that gold paint. And I'm going to take sort of more of a print from the edges that gives my sort of worn wallpaper look. I get sort of a worn wallpaper look by doing it this way. Can you see? You get sort of a worn wallpaper look to your project, because then we can have a piece of card that'll give us another background. So don't discard any of your backgrounds. Please don't discard them, because you get this beautiful worn wallpaper look. So let's place that on one side. Then what I'm going to do is I've got a lovely shimmer on there, and I'm just going to take a bit more of the paint. Can you see how much I'm brayering it out? And I'm just going to lightly wheelie. It's like doing a wheelie, but the paint is almost dry. I'm going to lift this up just so that you can see. Let's just give this a little bit of a clean, because look how much paint is on there. Even though it's dry, you can see how much is on there. Right, let's just give that a little bit of a dry. So I've used my gold paint, and then the thing I didn't get, where is it? I've got some distress spritz. So let's just have this over here. That's it, let's get that ball bearing going. I tend to like to shake from side to side rather than up and down. Sometimes you have to knock it a little bit to get that ball bearing, but if you shake it up and down, things can seep through. So once I get the ball bearing going, I like to just shake, and you can see that you've got that sort of moving. And then I'm just going to, can you see how lightly I'm pressing the distress spritz? So this is fossilized amber, but why don't you try putting some blue on there? I've got these in stock, these distress spritz, and I've even got the new colours as well. Where are we? What colours have we got? So I've got a little bit of peacock feathers. So let's just, a little bit of peacock feathers, there we go. So we've got nice full on sort of, spit it out Tracy, metallic feel with that lovely dark blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in this while that dries a little bit. I've then got my sapphire, and I'm just going to grab a lighter colour. Let's grab some turquoise, or do I want, I'm going to be like this all day. What colour have I got? I've got sapphire. I might use peacock instead. We'll decide. That's all part of playing. So I'm going to take the sapphire paint. I'm going to try and remember not to put too much of that paint. And then I'm going to try peacock. So it's a little blob of paint that I sometimes put in my projects as well. That's a little bit of peacock. Now you can look through your paints and see what kind of paints that you've got. Now if you want this to have a little bit more depth, what I'm going to do is just grab a little bit of white paint just to give it, and I'm going to use my fingers just because, now this paint, the paint I've got, look how thick it is. This is it Sennelier? Yes, Sennelier, I think that's how you pronounce it. But my white paint is super thick. Now, if you don't like using your fingers, just use your paintbrush, it's absolutely fine. I've got more white paint than anybody on the planet needs to add. But I'm adding this paint. It's lovely and thick. And it's just going to give me a lovely base to paint on. Let's just, there we go. Let's just have a nice bit of a clean up now. And what you can do is, do you like how my wipes are so wet? What you can do, what's hilarious, I've got a bin by me, and I don't know whether my husband's, what he's been doing, but there's like a random sock in the bin, like you have a random sock in the bin. So you can see I've got this white paint on here. So let's take, and let's just add it just to our scrap piece of card. And look how that tones everything down. Looks lovely. Gives you another background. So then we'll clear up our mess. There we go. All sorted. Hardly any mess and all sorted. Most of the mess is on my hands, mainly because I used that finger. And whilst we're doing this, my other piece of card is drying, and it's what I love doing the most. I should really have my heat tool here, but this is nice and a thick layer, but I'm going to take, so I need to tell you the colours. Sapphire, so that's my dark colour. Let's bring in this kitchen roll so you can see. Just check I haven't got too much water. And then I'm going to add this blue. Now the white paint I've got under there is super thick. If yours isn't as thick, don't worry, it's not a problem. It's just a base, just so that we add that base colour. You can just blend this out. Blend that out to nothing. So there's quite a bit of white on there. I'm just going to continue just to blend out. You can, if you wish. Can you see how, because the paint, my white paint is nice and thick, because it's wet, I can add this colour quite easily. So I'm going to take a little bit of that turquoisey colour. And just add a little bit of the turquoisey colour. Now for me, the blue, because you've got that white on there, it's not dark enough yet. So let's grab my finger, and I'm just going to add a little bit more of the sapphire. That's the colour I want, that dark colour, but it's just my white underneath that's making it paler. However, what I want to do is sort of build the colour up nice and slowly. And also, because I've got that thick white paint on there, yours doesn't matter if you haven't got thick white paint. Because I've got that thick white paint on there, it's making my bauble a lot sturdier. So it's got a bit of body to it. Now what I want to show you is, watch what happens when you dry it. So you could see the colours and how they change because you've got that white paint underneath there. You wouldn't get that if it was just card, but it just gives my bauble a little bit of body. So just give that a dry. Right, let's use my finger again. Can you see now the blue is not going in to any other shade? Can you see that? Let's pick a bit of water up. It's sticking to being a really dark blue because you're not mixing it with the white. But I'm adding layers of that colour, and I'm using my finger so I can pick up some water now and just make that a little bit lighter, just using the water just to blend out. What I'm trying to show as well is that if you haven't got any fancy tools, or at the moment you're saving up for some paint brushes, don't be frightened to give it a go with your fingers. It's not a problem. So we'll just give that a little bit of a dry again. So I'm I'm really building up those layers, and I'm just using my finger just as my tool. And what you'll find is that your bauble becomes quite plasticky, because at the end of the day, you've got that acrylic paint on there. Has got that plastic element in there. Now, I've got a little bit of that turquoise in there, but I don't know whether I'm too keen on the turquoise, because I like the deep, rich blue. So to give me a second colour, I can use the water, dilute it down, and just dilute that, just so that it's more diluted. Let's have a little bit more water. So it's like a secondary colour. And now I'm going to let's dry my fingers. I like to look at it through the camera, and now I can see this marble turquoise, and that's actually quite nice. So this is why you play. So I'm going to take a little bit of the turquoise, water it down a little bit, just so that it sort of marbles into the dark blue. And the bauble now is lovely. If you're not getting it sort of mixing, use your finger. Don't know where that white came from then. So we'll just give that a little bit of a dry. And again, I can go in. Let's take, now this is very plasticky. So just remember that, because you're playing with acrylic paint and we've laid it on so thickly. Or not we, the royal we, me. So I've got it really dark there, and I'm using some water just to blend out whatever else I've got on there. And I've sort of got different tones, so I can take a little bit of the turquoise, make a bit of water and a little bit of the turquoise, and it just makes it look sort of marbled. And what you've got, let's move this out of the way, let's clean up some of our mess. And what you've got is a very textural bauble. Now, you could mop up this paint quite easily onto another card, and you'd have a wonderful, wonderful background. Because the other thing I'll show you, if you want to create a background, even though I've just mopped that up and I shouldn't have, but it was a bit dry. So if you want to, you can take your paint, probably a bit more than that. Take your turquoise or your peacock. Let's take the peacock. You can then take some water, just blend it like so. take off the excess. Let's grab another piece of card. So maybe you haven't got inks, maybe you've only got paints. Just blend it so there's not too many lumps, and then you can mop up your paint like so, and then just add the water, and you can create another background. In fact, we could have, you can actually dry this. You could create another background with this quite easily. Just dry that a little bit. Let's grab another piece of card. I think what I'm trying to say is, even if you've only got a few products, I don't have everything. I don't have dyes. I don't tend to use papers because I like making my own backgrounds, because I just find it a lot cheaper than buying papers. But that's a personal thing. But look how much is left. And I could create another 10 backgrounds with that. So let's give this a dry. Again, you can use your kitchen roll if you don't want the water at the edges. You can just dab that up. Then you can add more depth to your card by going back in and adding more layers of that colour. So we'll leave that to dry because we could easily brayer over with some white. Let's move these out the way. I nearly dried that then. Obviously, you wouldn't do what I'm doing because you could create so many other backgrounds. So we all like different things in crafting, and different things make us all happy. So let's just give my wonderful brush that I can't live without now a little bit of a clean, because I am terrible, I must admit. I am dreadful for leaving brushes and not cleaning them. And sometimes I try not to have a jar of water on the side, only because Tracy's dreadful. I could quite easily spill that. And I know that from experience. Let's just give that a wipe, and then just spend a couple of minutes on my hands, just so that I've got the paint off there, and you don't have to look at grubby hands everywhere. There we go. If I haven't got dirt on my hands from the garden, I've got paint on my hands. It's one or the other. It always is. There we go. Dryish. So we can bring in our card now, and let's lift up our project, and you can see there's still moisture on there. So I'm just going to, what you can do is you could, let's pick up the background where we braided some white on. You could just put the card over the top, and we can pick that up, and it'll just add a few little pieces of the gold to the other background as well, just to add little touches. There we go. Just to add touches to that. And I'm going to add this above, just so that it's raised with the darkness of that colour, and it's really sort of solid. It's really solid on there. So what I'm going to do is just give this a little dry. And this too, this piece of card, let's just dry that bit. This piece of card is also textured. So what I'm going to do is just bring in a little bit more of this darker paint. So I'm going to use the sapphire, a little bit of water, tiny bit, take off the excess, you can see that there. And then I'm just going to bring in a little bit of this darker colour, just going all the way, and then I'm just going to blend that out, just so you can see. Just blend that out to nothing. Pick a little bit more of that blue up, take off the excess moisture, and just bring a little bit more, take off the excess, and just drag that out to nothing. You can use a tiny bit of water just to soften the edges, just so that it brings a little bit more depth and brings in a little bit more of that darker blue. Now by adding the gel, by doing it on the gel press, it gives it more texture and it's lovely. It gives it a different texture, and that's really nice. So just add a little bit of water just to blend that out. And the gold is still there, sort of underneath as well, just to give it that shimmer. And then going to add a little bit of the blue again, just on the edge. And it just gives it a little bit of depth. And this is what I love playing with. So it's got the base colour on there from the gel press, but it's just giving that a little bit more depth. Can you hear the texture? You can hear the texture when I start to, there, when I do that, you can hear the texture from the gel press. There you go. And the minute you think you've got too much on there, just use your kitchen towel just to take that off. But you're just bringing a little bit more depth to your designs. And it's just, so if we've cut this bauble out. Where's my stencil? So where did that go? So that sort of went here, like so. So you can sort of bring in a little bit of that depth, just using the stencil as a guide. There we go. A little bit of water. this is my favourite bit, is actually adding the little touches. It just makes me happy. And I love the fact that it's got texture on there. And I also like the fact that this has got like little areas sort of missing. Just adds to it. So don't sort of rush this process. Just take your time. Just blend that out like so. And because I've got that texture on there as well, it blends out really lovely. Especially by just using a touch of moisture, not too much. So you can take off your excess. You've got a harsh line now. And then just go in and scratch that out. You can add a bit more water because it's got that plasticky surface. And it just gives it a little bit more dimension, which I really love. I absolutely love it. So just add a little bit to this one. I'm going to leave a little bit of the area. I've hardly got any water on my brush because I don't really need too much. I can have the edge really dark if I want. And then you can, little touch of water. Let's put a little bit of a dark edge there. And you can keep going in and adding a dark edge as much as you want. But what you don't want to do is cover up all your work from the gel press. So you don't want to cover everything up. You just want a dark edge without covering all your gold and bits and pieces up. So you want that dark edge without adding too much and taking away from that background. Little bit of water just to blend that out. So again, a little bit more paint. And you just take a little bit of the water and blend that out. Just to soften your edges a little bit. And I do lose myself just as I'm doing this. Because I could go on forever. So what I've done is I've created more depth on those baubles, but still kept so that we've got that sort of gold on there. The only reason I'm going to mop this up is because I will just lean in it. So I'm just going to mop that up. Again, if you have a spare piece of card just on one side, you can use that. I'll just make sure my brush is not going to dry solid. And then the one thing I didn't look is to see if I've got any gold embossing powder. So a little touch of gold embossing powder. Now I find that gold embossing powder, it can get everywhere. So what I'm going to do, you've seen how much I've touched this. So I'm just going to really give that a good smattering with the anti-static bag. Just to add. So we'll just grab a scrap of paper that's got paint on, but that's absolutely fine. Let's move that out of the way. And then I'm going to take, where are you? That's the one. TE23, that's got that text on there about cold, crisp evenings. I'm going to take that text and I'm going to use it with my finger. And I'm going to use my Versamark ink. Just take my Versamark. And then I'm going to add, I have put the arrow the right way. I'm going to add a little bit of the text. I can actually use my finger. Don't press too hard. I have no idea what I've got because I literally can't see anything on there. Neither can you, which is really handy. So let's just sprinkle our gold embossing powder. And by adding the anti-static bag, it means that I haven't got that gold embossing just everywhere. So I'm going to see what this looks like before I add any to the background. So let's take our heat tool. Let's heat that up a little bit. Put the lid on the embossing or else we will end up with that everywhere. Just heat my heat tool. And by adding the gold embossing, it sort of gives it a touch of opulence. And my bauble automatically curling for me. And what you have to remember is there are several layers of plastic paint on there. So it takes just a little bit longer. There we go, we can see it turning now. It does help if I'm actually pointing the heat tool at the project. And I want the text to be a little bit more random. That's why I did it with my fingers. Can't turn the heat tool off. And what I find is it's instantly got that richness, that opulence to it, because it's got that little bit of gold in there. And I can see the word cold, but it just gives it a touch of opulence. Now I'm going to be adding this sort of here, and I can bend it, look, because it's got so much paint on there. So I'm going to be adding this here. So I'm going to judge where I want a few touches of the gold stamping. So I can add a little bit there And did I go over with my anti-static bag? No, I didn't. So just remember that. There we go. Let's try again. I've got a little arrow that tells me which way my stamp goes. This is going to go around about here. So I'm going to add a little bit of stamping there. A little bit here. A little bit there. And maybe... Now, it's very random stamping. It's nothing precise. Let's take that gold embossing again. And if you're anything like me, I always forget where I've added the embossing powder, where I've added the stamping. Oh, lovely, lovely, lovely. So let's put this back. Just so you can see without anything on there. So let's just give this a little bit of a heat. Now, if you didn't want to add the bauble on top, you could quite easily leave it like this and just put a sentiment on. And just leave it like that. No problem at all. And this really sort of adds that opulent touch. Oh, that looks lovely. Don't shake your heat tool, Tracy, which is a terrible habit of mine. I want to move my heat tool from left to right. Don't ask me why. It doesn't make it do anything by moving it left to right, but I still do it because I can't help myself. I mean, we did it again then. Oh, this just adds that little bit of something, that je ne sais quoi. The text is just perfect. Now this would be a perfect Christmas card for my hubby because he loves a little bit of embossing. He doesn't know much about craft, but he does like a little bit of the gold embossing. He just thinks it looks really sort of opulent. But can you see that? Doesn't that look rich? Just looks so rich and lovely. So then this is going to have some shape. Now I don't know whether I've got any sort of gold thread. Let me have a look. Let's get rid of the gold embossing. It's funny, I don't know what sort of cottons I've got. That's two. No. So you can hear I'm searching through cupboards just to see if I've got anything I can use. And this is what you should do. So like for instance, you look through mine and I've got these gold skeleton leaves. Aren't they pretty? Beautiful gold skeleton leaves. But I don't want them for this project. But can you see, don't they look lovely? We could do that with our leaves. Right. No, there's nothing. There's nothing much there, but if you wanted to add sort of gold cotton or anything like that underneath, you could add that if you wish to give texture. Let's have a look. I'm still going to look. You do realise that, don't you? Bear with me. So you could have gold wire, gold cotton, and I'm going to have a little bit of sisal. But have a look in your stash. If you've got any sort of gold cotton, anything gold texture-wise, whatever. Let's just trim these a little bit. I end up with sisal nest everywhere. But I just love the little bit of texture it gives. And I like it to sort of diffuse. So let's grab those scissors again. It's the only time I'll get to cut any hair. Nobody else would let me loose. Just gives it a diffused element. Now you want something to hold that down. I will move it away from this white kitchen towel so that you can see. So let's give a little bit of shape to the bauble. Like so. So it's got a little bit of that shape. I'm going to add a little bit of texture. Just giving it a little bit of shape. Now obviously I'm going to give this to my husband, so it doesn't have to be posted. But you will have sisal nest absolutely everywhere. I'll just warn you about that. Now you know me, I'm not going to apologise for me faffing, because that's what I do all the time. Which way up? That way up. And then I want my smaller baubles. Where are you? I'm going to take the stamp that coordinates beautifully with it, which is TE22, or you could use TE18. There we go. So I want this one here, like that. I'm going to spend ages just trimming little bits of sisal nest. Honestly, you too can do a project and spend 20 minutes just working with sisal nest. So what I'm going to do is grab another piece of scrap card. Now when I'm having my creative time with you, it's not about rushing. It's just about enjoying our time together. So I'm going to take an acrylic block, like so. I'm then going to take a little piece of cotton dry foam. Will that do? That'll have to do. So I'm going to take a little bit of white paint. That one will do. A little bit of white paint. This is just to get the shape, so don't worry about it being perfect. And when you're using paint, don't leave it on there too long, because you don't want it to stick to your card. Don't forget, when you're using paint, give those stamps a little bit of a clean, because you don't want that paint to dry so that it leaves lumps and bumps on your stamp. Just give it a clean. They're top quality photopolymer stamps. They can take it. Right, so I'm then going to take the darker blue, which is the sapphire. I'm going to take a little bit of, no, I don't want turquoise, I want peacock. Take a little bit of the peacock. Spot the paints that I use quite a lot. Mind you, the sapphire one is quite a new colour that I purchased. So bring my kitchen roll in so that I don't use too much. And then we can go round. Just bring now. I've not dried the white paint underneath, so remember that. That will allow me to just add a touch of water and to blend that out somewhat. Because it's got that white paint on there. I always find it easier to colour with a touch of paint. Just think it's so easy. We all find different things that bring us joy. So a little bit more darker paint, a little bit of water, just to sort of give my first layer of colour. I don't know why I've got so much of this sapphire paint out, but there you go. So go around, just smooth out your paint, and don't forget, with that white paint on there, it's just diluting the colour, which is absolutely fine initially because we're just building. And then always have your kitchen roll at hand. Just so that you can just take off any excess. So I've hardly got anything on my brush. Make sure you can see that. I've hardly got anything on my brush, just to drag out the colour. So to drag it out, to nothing. There you go. So you've sort of got your base. And then going to come in with the dark colour again. And I've shown you how to do this with your fingers, should you not have paint brushes. So just bringing in a little bit of that darkness, and we are going to cut this out. So don't worry too much. And what I need to do now is I need to dry that white layer now, just so that I can add more layers of colour. So just give that a waft, like so. Whoa, my heat tool nearly fell off then. Make sure that hasn't moved. I'm then going to take the blue again. And now I'm layering that colour on there. Now, it's no different than if you were colouring with pencils or pens. You always add layers of colour, don't you? It's just what we do, just to make that pop a little bit more. And obviously when we're doing pencils, we always say don't break down the card too soon. And you can sort of dilute it to make that secondary colour. Just so that you've got a wash of the same colour. Then just use water just to go out to nothing. And I love with paints that you just get a lovely blend. So I'm going to dry that again. You don't need to dry very much. And then I'm going to take a little bit more of the blue. And you can see I've picked up a little bit more paint this time. Just to add that rich darkness. So it's still dark on my brush. Go into that tinted water and then blend it out, because you've then got sort of a hint of a tint of the same colour. There we go. Again, and you still, even though you're only adding a tint, you're still sort of building that layer up. And Tracy just loses herself every time. So I'm just going to take a bit of this with water. Just make sure my edges. Now, if you want to sort of soften the edges, just use your finger and just dab, just to diffuse those edges a little bit. And if you're still not happy, just go in . I just love how it shades. And I've not added any of the turquoise. There's so much layer on here now. Let's give that a dry. And as we dry, it just adds a thicker layer of that paint. And it's like anything, you're filling out and smoothing out the bauble. Just smoothing that out. It's knowing when to stop, which Tracy sometimes doesn't. We need to add our touches of white as well. So let's cut our little bauble out. Again, it's got quite a few layers of paint on there, so it's nice and thick. There we go. Just add that. That's it. And then if you want to just add some colour just to the edges so that it looks more solid, you can do that to the edges as well. Just going to give my brush a little bit of a clean, and we'll just clean all this up because it's getting a little bit dry now. Just a little bit of water, and it really doesn't take much to clean up, apart from when it's very dry, like my white paint there. There we go. So let's just give that brush a little bit of a clean. Whether you use blending brushes or whether you use cut and dry foam, you can clean and wash those to reuse again with a different colour, or you can have one for each colour. So we want to add a little bit of embossing to this. I've got that much paint on my hand now. Let's just give that a little bit of a clean, just so we've got sort of clean hands. So why did I put the gold embossing away? Nobody knows. So we'll use our anti-static bag again. Just so that that gold embossing doesn't end up everywhere. Take the same stamp again from TE23. Again, don't press too hard, you don't need to. Where did I... Nobody knows where I added the text, not even me. There we go. And I can feel how solid the bauble is. Again, we'll take our heat tool. Just heat that up a little bit. Not going to move very far because it's so thick with paint. It's not a flimsy piece of paper anymore, or card. Don't forget, don't overheat, because then it'll just go back to being flat. Has that not got any embossing on there? There we go. So I can then just shape the bauble. I can add my bauble here, just so that that is raised a little bit. So a nice good dollop of the pin flare, just so that that's raised even more. And you can still see the shading underneath on your other baubles as well. So I really like that. Let's just place that back. Then just move our card out of the way. I'm going to grab TE23 again, where the text comes from. I'm going to use my little penguin. I'm going to stamp that penguin in black. I just love the size of these. I'm just going to add a little bit of colour. So I'll grab my Prismacolors and just add a tiny bit of colour. So a little bit of orange, pale vermilion, and then a little bit of yellow. And a little bit, just a touch of colour. It's hardly any colour, but we know it's there, don't we? A little bit darker. And then just a little bit of blend. It hardly needs any colour, it's just a little touch. And when I'm having a little bit of creative time, I have to say, I do not know where the time goes. So I'm just cutting the penguin out, and I'm not leaving a white edge. Okay, let's just cut him out. Now, when I want the yellow to blend to nothing, where's my... I've got my Prismacolor white, and just so it blends to nothing, but a little bit more subtle, I do like to use a little bit of a white pencil. I can't pick him up now, but he's got to have a little bit of sort of dimension. And I'm going to add my little penguin just here on my bauble. Let's get rid of that little bit of a clump of adhesive, she says, as she bangs everything. just want a little bit of dimension, because don't forget, I'm not sending this out. There we go. So he's got a little bit of dimension as well, which makes me very happy. But you know what I've not done, don't you, is added the touches of white to the penguin before everything's dried. But there you go. That's me all over. So then I'm going to add Christmas Wishes from TE22 as my sentiment. If you want to, you could put this on a piece of blue card that you've painted and then emboss it in gold if you wished. I want the touch of white sentiment just to pop on my card. Let's grab that. It just pops quite nicely then. But I like it when, depending on the design, when the sentiment's not too bulky. And by looking through the camera, it always gives you sort of a different feel. So I can add this now, and that white really pops against everything else. So where are we? I didn't pull that adhesive down because I'm good like that. So let's just take this. And I'm still on the same bottle that of glue that I said to you, oh, it's empty. I'm just shaking it a bit more. So just add the Christmas Wishes there with the penguin looking up at the Christmas Wishes. Just take that. Now, don't forget, I'm making this for a family member. So I like to make it really special and nothing's too much trouble. Where's the... Look, I've still got sisal nest still everywhere. So what I'm going to do then, let's just place that TE23 back. And then we're not getting that... Oh, I've just dropped my text stamp on the floor. Oh, you can't make it up, can you? So what I've done is this text stamp fell off the acetate. Just means Tracy's used it quite a bit. So if you give it a clean, you'll see just how much dirt is on there, just from your fingers. And then it just sticks again. Perfect. So then what you do is you try to put it in the packaging without it falling off. What do they say? Warts and all? Right. Place that in there. And now I want, where are you? The Holly and Berries TE21. Now you don't have to do this. Don't forget, it's a special card. Or, well, when I'm making a card, I feel like they're all special. But I'm just going to add a little bit extra. So I'm going to take the Holly and the Berries. And there's my acrylic block right by the side of me. And then I've got Twilight ink, which should be a darkish blue, or is it purple? If it's purple, I don't want it. No, it's a lovely dark blue. if you haven't got the dark blue, why not use your paint? I don't like cutting out with a big piece of card in my way. It's just me. Now I know if you don't like fussy cutting, you don't want to do this. I get that. But indulge me. I like fussy cutting, and I do feel that it does add a little bit of something. For me personally, I just think some little cut out bits, or maybe, well, they're like little embellishments. For me, they just make a card. I absolutely love it. And for me, if I'm making a card for somebody special, or I'm sending something to somebody special, then I like them to know that I've poured love into the card and that I've made special effort for them so that they feel special. But if you don't want to cut out, why don't you just cut 2 little pieces of the holly out? I've even got the holly stamp on its own here on the TE21. Cut the holly out on its own and just add that. It's just a little something just to add a little touch to the card. So I'm leaving a little white border with this because it just makes it a little bit more special. And also it makes cutting out a little bit easier with pieces like this if you leave a little white border. Especially when you get to the thinner areas. Just cut round. Twilight's a lovely colour. There we go. And you can make it shorter if you want. You don't have to cut the whole length out. I can't get my words out from colour, cut or whatever. I'm using Pergamano scissors mainly because I like the curve on them and they're very sharp. There we go. So I've got my little cut out holly, as you can see, and then I can add this just to my piece if I want, just like so. So I'm going to add this, and what I do to keep some movement is I don't adhere all the leaves. I just adhere some of them, not all of them. Now, of course, I'm making it difficult for myself because I've got that sisal nest on there. And because I've got that sisal nest, where did I add the adhesive? Because I've got that sisal nest on there, it's going to be harder. Remember where you've put the adhesive. It's going to be harder to adhere because I like to make it as difficult as possible. So I'm going to use my scissors and just keep that held down just for a few seconds, just so that it grabs hold of some of the card and not the sisal nest that is floating about. There we go. I've now sort of as you can see, I've not stuck down all that holly. And I want another piece. Don't forget, I'm making a special card. So I'm going to use the Twilight again. You can take from the demonstration whatever makes you happy. So let's add another. And again, oh, look at that. So can you see there? I've added it to some. That's all right. Use a little bit of the holly then. Doesn't always have to be the same piece each time. So just add a little piece. Like so. And cut that out. Just needs a little bit more sort of bulk to the foliage. That's why I'm adding another piece. Let's cut that out. There we go. Go around. Again, if you're watching the video and you're watching it first before you give the card an attempt, you could stamp some foliage at the top if you wished. Didn't realise where I got to then because I was too busy waffling. So this piece of holly and berries is a little bit shorter because Tracy stamped onto a piece of card that was cut through. But it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter one bit. It can be a little bit shorter. So I want that on there. So I'm going to take maybe that bit there. And maybe a little bit of the stalk. And just adhere. And can you see I'm not sticking all of the holly down? I'm keeping it so that there's one part stuck down and the rest is more sort of dimensional. And it just looks lovely like that. So I'm going to add some white splatters. My lid wasn't on properly. But before we do that, let's just grab, where's the little narrow one? Narrow one. That's a professional term. Because I've used acrylic paint, let's just get this going. There we go. I can add some acrylic paint. Obviously, anybody with half any sense would not add the acrylic pen, would not add the Posca pen when you've just adhered everything and it's not dry. You just wouldn't. There we go. So let's add some splatters of the white. And if you want to protect that sentiment, just take a thin piece of card, put it over your sentiment like so, and then you can add your splatters. Let's just make sure that that's working. There we go. And I can add the splatters now, not worrying that I'm going to cover up some of that sentiment, which I'm not. Move your card a little bit so that you hit different areas of that card. And by using that little piece of card there, that means that you don't hit the sentiment and you can still read that. I just love that. And sometimes what I do, let me have a look. If I'm doing anything special for somebody, sometimes I'll look in my embellishment collection. I don't think there's anything in here, but sometimes, let me see. So for instance, it's a little gold bulldog clip here. So sometimes I often go through my little collection and I might just add a little something extra for whoever I'm making the card for. There we go. So I've added that to the bauble. So I love adding just little special touches. If it's a, you know, well, all the cards are special, aren't they? So I'm then going to add this. Let's grab some kitchen roll that's clean. I'm going to add this to a white card blank. Now, it's up to you if you wanted to add. So let me just grab the black mat. So for instance, my black mat is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. Let me just add the black mat. And it just becomes a little bit more finished on that. But if you wanted to, let's move this out of the way. This is where I faff for England. Let me just grab my gold pen. I have some metallic Posca pens. And the only way you're going to know if something's going to work is if you test things. So I could go around the edge. I don't know whether any of you remember Krylon pens. Oh, we used to be addicted to them when we had the shop. Everything was Kryloned. And you'd Krylon everything so much, your pen would have a ridge. So let's have a look, go down there. So just adding layers of that. So let's put the lid on that. Turn this paper over. Bring in your card now. And then you've got that black still, but you've got a touch of gold on there. Yes, we like that. So let's add our adhesive to our card that we hope all the bits and pieces don't fall off, because anybody in the right mind would not adhere this until everything is solid dry. You also want to make sure there's no sisal nest stuck underneath your card, because you know what's going to happen, don't you? It'll stop that sticking and be a right pain in the neck. So just make sure that you sort of bend the card so that it makes good contact. Let's move that a little bit with that adhesive, and the gold edge with the black just finishes that off. There And this is why you don't do it when things are moving, because obviously your adhesive keeps moving. So then I'm going to add that to a 5x7 card blank. Now don't forget to add an insert, just to finish that off a little bit. You could just add one of the blue baubles just to the card on the inside. There we go. And that is your card finished. So just so we can lift that up, you can see it's got lovely shimmer. That gold embossing that is, you can definitely see on there. And I just love that. If you want to add a little bit of shading underneath, you can use your Inktense pencil. Mine is Chinese ink, it's called. Again, look what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to add this underneath when it's all moving. You just don't do it. It's called Chinese ink, something like 2030, I think it is. And then because we've used that acrylic paint, it blends out beautifully. And that will just give a little bit of shading, which you might not see in camera, but it is there. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and I hope you'll give it a go. So love to all, and I'll see you all soon. Bye for now.